everyone and welcome back to the channel. Thought I'd do a little bit of a information video this time as it's getting up to summer, so we tend to have a lot of new bikers jumping on bikes and a lot of learners around on the roads. So I thought I would do my kind of experience over the last 10 years or so of riding a bike, and sort of what advice I would give to a new learner. So if you are looking at getting a new bike or for the first time, or if you're a learner rider at the moment, stick around, you might get a bit of advice. So I think the first point on this list is to cover the most important part, which is when you're buying your gear, don't cheap out on it. A lot of people that you see, they buy all these like £30-40 helmets that realistically, if you're coming off, it's probably not going to do much to protect your head. You've only got one head, so you want to protect that as much as you can. So I'm not talking about, you don't need to buy a carbon fibre £850 helmet, it's nothing silly. Just remember to budget into it that obviously you're going to need a helmet, a decent one, which you can kind of pick up for a couple of £100. This helmet I've got now, this HGC, this was only about 250, and good investment, I'd say, because it protects your head. Same with other bits of your gear as well. You don't want to cheap out on a lot of I'd say your top layer of gear, so like your jackets, whatever pants you're sort of wearing, and you want to really be buying stuff that's appropriate for the time of year that you're going to ride in. So if you're going to ride all year like I do, you need waterproofs, and you don't just need waterproofs, you need gear that has vents in it. So these pants that I've got on, these waterproof pants, they're all vented up. I can ride all summer in these. I don't get hot in them at all, and then in the winter, close all the vents up, and I'm super toasty. They don't let any water in them, all that kind of stuff. And they weren't that expensive. I think combined for the pants and my jacket, I probably paid about £400 and odd. It was about £430. What you've got to do is you've just got to be smart about it, because if you're looking to buy a bike, start buying gear early and buy maybe one bit of gear a month. Always look for sales. I got both of these on sale for a lot less than what they retailed for. So it's just stuff like that. You just got to be very smart of it, but always buy decent gear. Really, you just want to buy gear that you're looking for, looking to use. So if I was only riding in summer, for example, I would probably just have bought a leather jacket, pair of Kevlar jeans. That's all you need. Don't need anything else. But because I ride all year, I've got this gear which I use for most of the year, to be fair. But then in summer I swap out to a bit lighter, kind of a bit, not less protective, but just doesn't keep heat inside as much as this gear, just so it's keeping me cool. Because honestly, summer riding, it can get very hot on a bike, especially if you do get stuck in traffic. Then you just want to look out for that. So that's my top tip for this video, is buy the gear that you need for the conditions that you're going to be riding in. Even if it's, and you've always got to remember as well, in the cold, just layer up. So if you've got some waterproof gear on top, you can have your protective gear underneath it. So that's point one. So I think we'll move on to number 2 on the list out of the 6 that I have come up with. So obviously now you've got your kit, you're looking for a ride or something to ride. Now there is a huge market of 125 50cc motorbikes that you can ride on a CBT. Essentially the only advice I can kind of give you on that is pick a kind of style of bike that you like the look of. So if you like the look of a cruiser, if you like the look of, scooters, moped type things, do you like adventure bikes? There is a 125 for every single choice. You will literally be spoilt for choice of it. You can buy, your Japanese bikes, you can buy all that kind of stuff, even some of the European bikes with your KTMs, they do 125s. You've got quite a good choice of it. I would say the one thing that I would advise people is don't be put off by Chinese bikes. Now, I know a lot of people in the comments will be like, I've heard Chinese bikes are crap, they're made out of the rubbish materials, you know, all that kind of stuff. Now, my first ever bike was a Lexmoto Venom, so a little 125, it's kind of like a naked sports bike. It was, I mean, all round, it was a very good bike. I bought it brand new, so, I mean, we're talking back in 2016 that I bought this, so, you know, prices have changed quite a bit since then. So I paid about £1,300 for it back when I bought it, and I had it for a year. And in that year, never really had any problems with it. There was a little bit of an issue with the headlight, which, to be fair, it wasn't really that bad of an issue. But it was covered under the warranty for the actual thing. This guy's not going to let me go, is he? Because he's not red yet. So it was covered under the warranty for it, because you actually got a 3-year warranty with that bike. So my plan from the start was I was always going to get a bigger bike after a year. So my choice of getting a Chinese bike where anything that does go wrong is covered under warranty. The only thing I had to pay for was 2 services during the year that I owned it. And then at the end of the year, I actually sold the bike for the exact same price that I paid for it brand new. And I'd done I think it was about 4,500 miles that I did on it in the first year. So, you know, it all depends how long you're aiming, really, to keep a 125 for. Now, if I was aiming to stay on a 125 for 2 or 3 years, I would 100% be buying a Honda or one of the other Japanese bikes. I know the Suzuki GXRs are very popular for learners, and I mean, they are a fantastic looking bike, that 125, to be fair. So it just kind of depends what, not only your budget, but also what kind of style of bike you're looking for. Because budget is another thing. You know, 125s these days, you're looking at £3,000 new for a new one. So take that into account when you're obviously planning your gear, all that side of it. So yeah, that's my advice on that one. So for number 3, a little bit different with this one. It's more for when you've passed your CBT, you've got yourself a bike, and then you're wondering, how should I get out on the road? Where should I go? What should I do? Now, the place that I came was here, this B&Q in Trafford Park. Now, fantastic place if you've got a B&Q near you, because as you can see, massive car parks, absolutely no one here hardly. So I used to come here, so just after I'd passed, I would pop over to here about 8-9 o'clock at night. You know, you've got your big spotlights on, it was all lit up, and I would just literally ride around this car park and practice. You know, you can do your 3-point turns on here, you can kind of do like turning in a circle, all that kind of stuff, you know. It's very, very simple, and you can even practice your parking and all sorts if you want. So these car parks, absolutely fantastic they are. Now, we never had any problems with security, any of that side of it, coming over, telling us off. There was, I'd say there's probably about 3 or 4 of us, but then again, we weren't being idiots. You get a lot of these bikes that will be going up here doing wheelies, all that kind of stuff, but yeah, we kept it quite respectful, but yeah. So yeah, if you've got any large hardware businesses like your B&Qs or Wicks or anything like that nearby you, they're probably the best place that I would say that you can go and learn to actually ride your bike, get a bit familiar with it. You know, you're not doing anything too high speed on these car parks, probably about 10 mile an hour, like 10-15 mile an hour is the max you're going to be doing. But you can practice it away from other drivers, riders, and you know, you just feel a little bit more comfortable, I'd say, on these roads. So, point number 4. You've got your bike, you've got your gear, you've practiced a little bit off-road, and now you're wondering, where can I go on this thing? What can I do on it? My top advice for that would be essentially pick a place that you've never been, you know, it might only be 10-20 miles away from your house, that kind of thing. Just pick a location, plop it on Google Maps or your sat-nav, and essentially just ride down all the A roads. Now, it's a bit tricky when you first start because you're, again, not really too sure, but all the skills that you have learned on your CBT should have you kind of roadworthy. So yeah, just picking that location and heading there, at least you're going to enjoy the ride. And like I say, it's just a case of getting out on the bike. And sometimes you do need a bit of a kick to get out on it initially, because you do have a bit of nerves. I was the same. When I first bought my bike, I didn't even go out on it for the first 2 or 3 weeks. I was not scared of it, but I just didn't really want to go out by myself, which is fair enough. If you've got any friends that, you know, have cars or bikes themselves, I'm sure they'll be more than happy if you just ask them to kind of follow you around. There's one thing we did with one of my friends, because I learned at the same time as another friend. So we had a friend follow us in the car, so he could basically keep a bit of a distance behind us, so no one was right up behind. But yeah, it's that's one of my early things that I picked up, is just basically get a point located and then just ride there and see what the roads are like. And you never know, you might find something special. So point 5 on the list, that kind of links back to point 4, where you're picking somewhere to ride. And now that you're riding there, my piece of advice for that would be ride to your abilities. So one of the things you'll notice with newer bikers is they try to do everything like they're in a race. You know, they think they're on the Isle of Man TT rides. Just take it easy. You're new, you probably don't know how to steer properly on a bike. Yeah, you know, you don't be trying to do corners, doing 50 mile an hour, trying to get your knee down. It's just not worth it. If you come off the bike, you know, you've just cost yourself hundreds and hundreds of pounds in damage. It's definitely just not worth it. So I'd say the first probably year that you're riding a bike, you kind of want to take it quite easy on the roads. It's like conditions like this, you know, it's wet, it's raining, you know, you never know what's going to be on the road. Is there going to be loads of oil? You just kind of want to ride to your ability and not really mess around too much, because you will end up coming off. Not to let that put you off. Like, bikes are a lot sturdier than you think they are. They are very grippy in corners and all that kind of stuff, because they put millions and millions of pounds into developing motorbike tyres for grip and stability and all kinds of things. So, you know, you've got to trust in the methods there with that. But yeah, just don't go crazy, basically, is point 5. So, my 6th and final bit of advice for any new riders. A little bit different, this one, because it also kind of applies to riders who've been riding for a long time, which is one of the things that your instructor on your CBT will constantly be probably pestering you about and telling you to improve on as you're riding throughout the day, which is riding defensively. So when you're out and about riding, you essentially want to ride in a nice position on the road. You want to essentially act like everyone else is trying to smash you off your bike, because 9 times out of 10 they probably are, because you don't really pay much attention to bikers on the roads. But yeah, so riding defensively is quite a good bit of advice, really, and the quicker you kind of pick up on it, the nicer your bike rides are going to be, really, and just your overall experience with a bike. So it's things like, you'll probably have seen them before. So you'll see like a little moped rider, you know, learner plates on, the big high-vis jackets on, all that kind of stuff. But what they'll do is, rather than riding central in the road like I'm doing now, they'll hug the curbs, or they'll hug the inside lane. And what it does is, that gives a kind of a signal to all car drivers that, you know, you're letting them overtake you. Now, you're probably not letting them, you're not wanting them to do that, because like on roads like this, it's not that wide. But if I was hugging that curb there and a car came up behind me, I can guarantee they would try to overtake me, because they think, oh, they're hugging the curb, they're either on an e-bike or something's wrong with the bike. You just got to ride and sort of make your presence known on the road, really. So you've got to be like, look, I'm here, don't be trying to overtake me. Now, not to say that, you know, you can't ride over on the left, like what I just did there, because, you know, you kind of notice what's coming ahead of you and go, right, I'm going to adjust my position in the road. It's one of the best things about a bike that as you're riding, you can sort of adjust where you are on the road with it. Like, not like a car where you're stuck in the middle. On a bike, you can sort of go, right, I'm going to go right over here to avoid those potholes, and then you go back to centre. So it's just something that I've sort of picked up. Yeah, I mean, you pick it up quite quickly that you have to ride this way, just to avoid, like say, cars overtaking you, all that kind of thing. And it's again like when you're filtering at lights. When I first started filtering, I was absolutely terrified about filtering. I had no idea what I was doing. It seemed completely foreign to me because I've been a car driver for like 5-10 years. And I just wasn't over keen on doing it ever. But once you get the hang of it and you're doing it safely, it's actually not a bad thing. So one of the things I was told when I was on my direct access course was essentially when you're filtering, never go faster than 20 mile an hour filtering. That includes on the motorway as well. So you're just nice and smooth, you'll be cutting along, you know, no need to be doing 60 mile an hour, because if you're doing 60 mile an hour and a car just randomly turns out, decides to do a U-turn, could decide to do anything, then you do not have a reaction time to stopping time for that. So you will be hitting that car, as I've seen many people on compilation videos on YouTube sort of crash that way because they're filtering incorrectly, like someone opens a door. You never know what's going to happen really, but if you're riding with a defensive mindset, that's never going to happen to you. And it's again, you know, you're on a bike, there's no need to rush. You literally have all the time in the world. Bikes are a lot faster mode of transport than cars, just because, like I say, you can filter through things. So while you are filtering through, you just got to remember, any time that you're spending waiting 20 seconds behind the car at some lights, it's not the end of the world. You know, you can very easily just wait until you can get round. Same with trucks. So when you're filtering around trucks or trying to get around trucks, you've got to be aware that a truck cannot see you. Their blind spots are awful. So you have to kind of treat all of them like, yeah, I can't actually be seen by this truck. So that's another thing to bear in mind. But yeah, I hope these 6 little tips from myself as a rider of nearly 10 years now has kind of been helpful to anyone thinking of getting a bike, or you know, even just people who already have bikes and are just interested to see after the 10 years what I've kind of found and would recommend to people. But yeah, if you've got any questions in the questions about bike riding, or you know what it's kind of like in the UK, I mean, as you can see, it's horrible and rainy and everything today, but yeah, that's just how it is in the UK. It goes back to the whole step of buy the correct gear, because you want waterproofs in the UK, because I'm nice and toasty. But yeah, if anyone's got any questions, you know, feel free to drop them in the comments below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Cheers, I'll catch you on the next one.